Maya Sinclair thought a joke about Rajan Mehra would be harmless, and Dylan Carter would find it funny. But that careless comment ignited a chain of revenge, terror, and a horror party no one would survive unscathed. Maya Sinclair arrived at the luxurious Los Angeles estate, excitement coursing through her veins. The engagement party for Rajan Mehra was the event of the season, glittering with chandeliers, crystal glasses, and impeccably dressed guests. Maya, known for her bold personality and playful humor, moved through the crowd with a confident smile. She thrived on attention and loved the thrill of testing boundaries. As the evening progressed, laughter and music filled the grand hall, but Maya noticed subtle tensions she didn't yet understand. Rajan Mehra, the groom-to-be, was charming and polite, but something about his reserved demeanor caught her eye. He was handsome, well-dressed, and clearly admired by everyone, yet he seemed cautious, as if walking on fragile ground. Dylan, Maya's boyfriend, stood nearby, radiating confidence and a protective streak. Maya felt a mischievous impulse she could not resist. She leaned in, her voice carrying across the room, and made a crude joke about Rajan's manhood compared to Dylan's. The comment, meant to amuse and shock, sent ripples through the crowd. Some laughed nervously, others stared in disbelief. Rajan froze for a split second, a flicker of humiliation flashing across his eyes before he forced a polite smile. Maya, sensing the tension, laughed louder, dismissing the discomfort as part of the joke. But beneath the glittering surface, Rajan's mind was already working, processing the sting of public embarrassment. He retreated to a quiet corner, avoiding Maya entirely, while she continued to bask in the party's energy, unaware of the storm she had triggered. The joke, playful to her, had planted a seed of vengeance that would quietly grow, unnoticed, until it exploded in ways no one could imagine. That night, the atmosphere shimmered with glamour, but a dangerous game had quietly begun, sparked by a single careless word. The tension from that evening lingered long after the party ended. Rajan Mehra returned to his apartment, the city lights flickering through the windows, but he could not shake the humiliation he had felt. The joke about him had spread quickly among the guests, whispered behind his back and replayed in their laughter. Each memory gnawed at his pride, and a quiet anger began to take root. Rajan had always been careful about his reputation, meticulous about appearances, and now he felt exposed and mocked in a way he had never experienced before. Meanwhile, Maya Sinclair believed the incident had been forgotten. She laughed about it with Dylan, replaying the moment in exaggerated retellings for anyone who would listen. Her carefree attitude shielded her from the seriousness of the situation. She did not notice the subtle changes around her, Rajan avoiding her messages, declining invitations, and appearing in unexpected places with an unreadable expression. It was as if he had vanished and reappeared, quietly observing, waiting for something. Friends at the party began to gossip about the joke, some praising Maya's humor, others sensing the tension it had caused. Maya remained oblivious, confident that her charm and wit would protect her. But Rajan's silence was deceptive. Behind closed doors, he began making careful plans, considering how to regain control and restore his dignity. Each step was calculated, each idea more elaborate than the last. He wanted Maya to feel the weight of her words, to understand the consequences of her carelessness. What had seemed like a harmless joke was now the spark of a slow-burning vendetta, one that would pull everyone involved into a web of manipulation, fear, and ultimately, terror. By the time Maya noticed the change in Rajan's demeanor, it was already too late. She had unknowingly stepped into a game far more dangerous than she could have imagined. A week passed since the party, and Maya Sinclair was growing restless. The city felt smaller, her social media flooded with photos and messages from the engagement, and yet something gnawed at the back of her mind. Rajan Mehra had been distant, unresponsive, almost invisible, and she found it irritating more than worrying. Then, out of nowhere, a sleek black envelope arrived at her doorstep. There was no return address, only her name written in bold, elegant letters. Inside lay an invitation to an exclusive after-party, hosted by Leah, a name Maya had never heard before. The letter promised an unforgettable evening, one of luxury, excitement, and unique experiences. The tone was intriguing, playful, almost daring. Maya's curiosity ignited instantly, her mind racing with possibilities. She imagined the mansion, the glamorous crowd, the chance to assert her charm once again. Dylan was hesitant when she showed him the invitation, warning her to be careful, but Maya waved off his concerns with a laugh. Thrill outweighed caution, and the allure of mystery made the decision irresistible. As the day of the party approached, Maya prepared meticulously. She chose her outfit to stand out, envisioning the admiring glances she would receive. Yet a subtle unease lingered beneath her excitement. Something about the invitation felt unusually precise, as if it had been tailored to her personality, her habits, her ego. It was flattering, but also disorienting. Unseen by Maya, Rajan and Leah had already coordinated every detail, ensuring the mansion would be the perfect trap. By the time she stepped into the car that would take her to the mansion, Maya was confident, unaware that curiosity had become a dangerous invitation. What she believed would be another glamorous night of fun was the first step into a carefully orchestrated nightmare, a night designed not for amusement, but for fear and revenge. Chapter 4 can now dive into the arrival at the horror party and the furs. The car rolled down a desolate road, the city lights fading behind Maya's Sinclair. The mansion appeared suddenly, rising like a dark silhouette against the night sky. Its walls were tall and foreboding, the gates ornate and intimidating. Candlelight flickered in the windows, casting long, shifting shadows across the manicured gardens. Maya stepped out, her heels clicking on the stone path, excitement mingling with a subtle sense of unease. The air felt heavier here, as if the mansion itself was watching her. Inside, the grand hall was mesmerizing. Velvet drapes hung from the high ceilings, crystal chandeliers reflected light across marble floors, and mirrors lined the walls, multiplying the reflections of glamorous guests. The scent of perfume and expensive candles filled the air. Music pulsed softly, and the laughter of strangers echoed, oddly hollow. At first, Maya was captivated, moving through the crowd with effortless charm. Everyone seemed intrigued by her presence, but she noticed something strange, a coldness in their eyes, a distance in their smiles. Then she saw him. Rajan Mehra stood near a shadowed corner, impeccably dressed, yet completely different from the charming man she had known at the engagement. His smile was cold, calculated, and his eyes held a glint of something dangerous. Maya's heart skipped, but she forced herself to move on, telling herself she was imagining things. The mansion seemed to stretch endlessly, hallways twisting and turning in ways that disoriented her. Every room hid secrets, and every shadow seemed alive. What had promised to be a night of glamour and excitement quickly revealed itself as unsettling. Maya realized the mansion was designed to trap her, to control her movements, and that Rajan's presence was no accident. This was no ordinary party. It was a carefully constructed stage for fear, where every step she took brought her deeper into a nightmare she could not yet comprehend. Maya's Sinclair wandered deeper into the mansion, her confidence slowly giving way to unease. The air grew heavier, the music louder yet distorted, as if the walls themselves were alive. She noticed small details that hadn't been there before, strange symbols etched into mirrors, flickering candlelight that cast unnatural shadows, and corners that seemed darker than they should be. It was then she saw them, tiny, almost invisible cameras hidden among the chandeliers, in the corners of paintings, even inside flower vases. Every move she made was being watched. At first, Maya laughed nervously, thinking it part of some elaborate entertainment. But as she explored, she noticed the games. Guests were being coaxed into humiliating challenges, forced to reveal secrets, endure embarrassing stunts, or perform acts that clearly frightened them. The air was thick with tension. The mansion, which had seemed glamorous, had transformed into a stage for control and manipulation. Her playful confidence began to crumble. And then she saw him, Rajan Mehra, watching from a balcony, his expression unreadable. It wasn't anger this time. It was satisfaction. Every game, every challenge, every humiliating moment had been meticulously planned by him. Leah Dawson, who had introduced herself as a charming hostess, moved through the crowd quietly, guiding participants, smiling as if she were part of the fun, while secretly enforcing Rajan's sinister design. Maya's stomach churned as the reality of the situation hit her. What had started as a single careless joke at the engagement party had grown into a terrifying game of revenge, orchestrated to humiliate, frighten, and control her. Each step forward brought new traps, each smile a threat. The glamorous after-party was a lie. The mansion had become a prison, and Maya had unknowingly walked into the carefully constructed nightmare that Rajan and Leah had created, with her at the center. The mansion seemed alive with tension, every hallway echoing with whispers and nervous laughter. Maya's Sinclair tried to steady her nerves, but the games had already begun to wear her down. Guests were sweating, hesitating, some even trembling as they were forced into humiliating and increasingly dangerous challenges. The thrill that had drawn her here had vanished, replaced by a gnawing fear she could not ignore. Then it happened. A guest, pushed into a reckless dare, stumbled across a slick patch on the marble floor. He fell hard, his body striking the edge of a staircase with a sickening crack. Silence descended for a moment, broken only by shallow gasps. Panic rippled through the crowd, but the party did not stop. Music resumed almost immediately. Laughter, forced hollow, filled the air, and the games continued. It became horrifyingly clear to Maya. No one would intervene. The mansion was designed for control, and everyone inside was part of the experiment, including herself. Fear gnawed at her chest as she realized the stakes had escalated far beyond humiliation. The accident had shown the true danger of Rajan's orchestration, and Maya began to understand that every detail, the cameras, the layout, the challenges, had been carefully planned. Leah Dawson moved silently among the guests, ensuring that the order of terror continued without interruption, her calm presence a chilling contrast to the chaos. Maya's mind raced as she tried to plan an escape, but the mansion seemed to twist around her, hallways unfamiliar, doors leading nowhere. Every step she took brought her deeper into the trap. What had begun as a daring adventure, a glamorous night, had turned into a nightmare where fear was the game and she was the main target. The joke she had made at the engagement party had set all of this in motion, and now the consequences were far deadlier than she could have ever imagined. Maya Sinclair's nerves were fraying as the mansion seemed to close in around her. Every hallway she entered felt like a trap, every reflection in the mirrors watching her with 1,000 eyes. Then Leah Dawson approached, her calm demeanor almost soothing compared to the chaos around them. At first, Maya clung to that sense of relief, hoping someone would help her escape. But Leah's smile never reached her eyes, and soon Maya realized that she was not here to help. Leah had been orchestrating the flow of the party, carefully manipulating each guest to maximize fear and humiliation. Every whispered instruction, every subtle gesture had guided the participants deeper into Rajan's meticulously planned nightmare. The glamorous after-party had been nothing more than a mask, hiding a game of psychological torment. Maya's heart sank as she understood the full scope of the betrayal. She had trusted the wrong person completely. As the night progressed, Leah revealed the extent of the plan. Maya's past actions, her careless joke, and even her bravado had been studied, predicted, and weaponized. Every challenge she had witnessed, every unsettling glance, had been designed to push her to the edge. Guests who had seemed like friends were complicit, either unaware or too terrified to intervene. The realization hit Maya like a physical blow. She was entirely alone, surrounded by predators in a mansion designed for control. Fear turned to panic as Maya tried to find an exit, only to discover that the layout of the mansion had been altered. Hallways twisted, doors led to rooms she didn't recognize, and mirrors reflected paths that didn't exist. Leah watched silently from the shadows, a ghostly guide ensuring Maya remained trapped. The betrayal was complete. What had started as a single careless joke had now escalated into a full-blown nightmare, orchestrated by cunning minds that thrived on fear and revenge. By the time the first hints of dawn began to creep through the mansion's tall windows, chaos had reached its peak. Maya Sinclair was exhausted, terrified, and disoriented, trapped in a labyrinth of fear carefully designed by Rajan and Leah. The news of the fatal accident had already spread beyond the mansion, reaching local authorities. Inspector Harish Patel was assigned to investigate, a seasoned detective known for his patience and meticulous attention to detail. When Patel arrived, the mansion seemed almost surreal. The exterior was pristine, glamorous, even hiding the horror inside. He moved cautiously, noting the strange layout, the twisted hallways, and the nervous expressions of the remaining guests. Surveillance footage revealed everything. The hidden cameras, the games, the carefully orchestrated fear. Patel's trained eyes pieced together the timeline, understanding that this was not a spontaneous tragedy. It was premeditated. As he delved deeper, Patel discovered Rajan's motive. The groom's pride had been wounded by a careless, public joke, but the scale of his revenge far exceeded anything expected. Every detail, the invitation, the mansion, the accomplice Leah Dawson, even the dangerous games, was part of a meticulously planned operation to humiliate and control Maya. Patel realized that the psychological torment had been intentional, each step designed to escalate fear and panic. Maya, unaware that authorities were already tracking events through security footage, felt the walls closing in even more. Patel's investigation revealed that the mansion was essentially a stage for a deadly performance, where the victims were manipulated as actors in Rajan's revenge. The detective knew that uncovering the full scope of the plot would take time, but it was clear what began as a simple joke had spiraled into something far more sinister, blending psychological terror with real-world danger in a way few could comprehend. The grand hall of the mansion was eerily silent, the flickering candlelight casting long, distorted shadows across the marble floor. Maya Sinclair moved cautiously, her heart pounding in her chest. Every step echoed, amplifying the fear that had been building for hours. She had seen the hidden cameras, the cruel games, and the twisted hallways, but now, standing in the center of the mansion, she realized the nightmare had a face. Rajan Mehra. Rajan emerged from the shadows, his posture calm, his expression unreadable. The charm he had displayed at the engagement party was gone, replaced by a chilling precision. Every movement suggested control. Every glance carried the weight of calculated vengeance. Maya's mind raced, trying to piece together a plan, but the mansion itself seemed to shift, corners appearing where there had been none, mirrors reflecting false exits. There was no escape, only confrontation. He spoke without words, his silence more terrifying than any threat. The games, the cameras, the orchestrated fear, it had all been designed for this moment. Maya understood that her careless joke, which had seemed so insignificant, had destroyed the balance of their worlds. Rajan's plan was not only to humiliate her, but to force her to face the consequences of her actions in a way she could never forget. At that moment, Dylan arrived, too late to intervene, but in time to witness the full scope of Rajan's design. He saw the fear in Maya's eyes and the controlled fury in Rajan's. The realization struck. This was the result of a single careless word, amplified by pride, revenge, and meticulous planning. Maya had become the central figure in a psychological nightmare she could not have anticipated, a victim of her own recklessness. The final confrontation was not violent. It was terrifyingly intimate, a silent reckoning where fear itself was the weapon. The mansion, once alive with flickering candles and whispered laughter, was now eerily still. Maya Sinclair sat on a cold marble bench, her mind spinning as the aftermath unfolded. Rajan Mehra had been taken into custody, charged not only for orchestrating the deadly games, but for the psychological torment that had pushed several guests to the brink. Leah Dawson, the mysterious accomplice, had vanished into the shadows, leaving investigators scrambling to understand her true role. The media swarmed, turning the story into a sensational headline. A single careless joke had sparked a meticulously planned nightmare. Dylan stayed quietly by Maya's side, watching her struggle to comprehend the consequences of her own actions. The engagement party, the joke, the mansion, it all seemed surreal now, like a distorted memory from another life. Inspector Harish Patel oversaw the investigation, piecing together the evidence and ensuring justice was served, but the scars on those involved were far less tangible. Fear, embarrassment, and the knowledge that a single word could catalyze such destruction lingered heavily in the air. Maya's reputation was shattered, her confidence replaced by a cautious humility. She realized how reckless her words had been, how they had humiliated Rajan and unleashed a chain reaction that endangered lives. The mansion, with its twisted corridors and hidden cameras, became a chilling symbol. Revenge could turn mundane moments into horrors, and pride could transform ordinary people into architects of terror. The story became a cautionary tale, a reminder that even seemingly harmless jokes carry weight, and that unchecked emotions, humiliation, pride, jealousy, can escalate into situations far beyond control. Maya had survived, but the lessons were etched into her psyche. The horror party ended, but its memory lingered, a dark warning that words, arrogance, and vengeance could collide in terrifying ways, leaving devastation in their wake.